Hey, I'm Mace Sutton, born and raised in Los Angeles. Growing up, I had this obsession with gambling. Not Vegas style at first, just backyard card games, small bets with friends, quarters on the line. I love that moment when everything teetered on the edge, when your heart races because one wrong move can cost you everything. When I got older, I discovered poker. Not the casual kind, serious stakes, reading faces, bluffing, betting your entire hand on pure instinct. That rush of outsmarting someone, predicting their next move, it became addictive. But Los Angeles wasn't enough. I didn't want the usual grind, school, then a 9 to 5. I wanted risk, challenge, a feeling of alive like I did at the poker table. One day, a friend suggested I try finance, brokerage, trading, Wall Street-style stuff. At first, I hated it. Unlike poker, you couldn't rely only on instinct. Numbers, timing, understanding the market, it was a completely new game, and I was bad at it. I lost small accounts, made rookie mistakes, and felt like an outsider watching the pros. Then one day, it clicked. I started seeing patterns in the chaos of the market the same way I read a poker table. Every tick of a stock, every shift in investor behavior became a puzzle I could solve. The thrill of managing millions of dollars, making split-second decisions that could win or lose a fortune, it was intoxicating, bigger than any poker game I'd ever played. Slowly, I started to win consistently. My reputation in LA grew. And eventually, a Wall Street firm noticed me. They offered me a life-changing deal. Come to New York, manage huge accounts, and get paid more than I ever dreamed. I hesitated. New York winters, crowded subways, concrete everywhere. It was so different from sunny LA. But the allure of playing the biggest game of my life was irresistible. I packed my life into a couple of suitcases and flew east. At the time, I didn't know that this move would set the stage for some of the most thrilling and dangerous years of my life. New York hit me like a wall. The city was fast, loud, and relentless. Every street seemed to move at double speed, and everyone had a purpose, or at least they looked like they did. In the middle of this chaos, I met Ethan Weir. He was street smart, confident, a little reckless, and had the same love for risk that I did. We instantly clicked. While I approached life with methodical calculation, he thrived on instinct and intuition. Together, we explored the city, from dingy diners to secret poker rooms tucked in back alleys, always chasing the next thrill. Work started in a blur. My new Wall Street firm handed me a massive portfolio, and I thrived. I felt like I could see the market in ways others couldn't, anticipating movements before they happened. Ethan had a hedge fund job across town, and we became unofficial partners in a game of calculated chaos. Nights after trading, we'd sit in smoky bars, talking stocks, bets, strategies, and laughs. It felt like we'd discovered a secret world where risk was everything and nothing mattered except the next big win. One weekend, Ethan suggested a trip to Vegas. Just a little getaway, he said. Poker, roulette, high stakes, you in? I laughed but agreed. The moment I stepped into the casino, it hit me. This was the feeling I'd been chasing since childhood. Chips clinked, the roulette wheel spun, cards were dealt, the air was electric. We started small, testing the waters, but soon we were chasing bigger bets, bigger wins, and bigger thrills. That first Vegas night planted a seed. The thrill of risk could be intoxicating, addictive, and potentially dangerous. I didn't know then that it would become a force strong enough to affect everything: my friendships, my career, and my life itself. Ethan and I would leave New York for a few days, gamble a little, have fun, and then return to the trading floor focused and sharp. But the city had a pull, a rhythm that was intoxicating. Every time I walked through the casino doors, the clinking chips, the spinning roulette wheels, the shuffle of cards, it hit a nerve I hadn't realized I missed so badly. The thrill wasn't just about winning money. It was about control, intuition, reading people, feeling alive in a way that numbers on a screen couldn't replicate. The first few trips were harmless. We'd win some, lose some, laugh about it, and I'd come back to Wall Street with my ego slightly inflated, but my performance intact. But slowly, the obsession grew. I began thinking about Vegas while I was working. Every deal I made, every stock I analyzed, my mind drifted to the next weekend, the next hand, the next rush. I found myself leaving the office earlier than usual, distracted, scrolling through casino odds, imagining plays I might make in a poker game rather than focusing on trades. Ethan and I started pushing each other further. What if we bet more? What if we went all in? At first, it was exhilarating. I felt unstoppable. Each win reinforced the illusion that I could control everything, read everyone, beat the system. But with every big win came a loss that stung more than I expected. The highs became higher, but the lows cut deeper. I began justifying it. I'm still doing my job. I can handle this. This is my passion. It's like poker, but bigger. But work started to show cracks. I wasn't staying late for crucial trades. My focus wavered, and some risky calls I made began reflecting my distraction. The thrill of Vegas seeped into the office. I noticed myself approaching the stock market like a casino game, chasing excitement instead of rational profit. My reputation for precision and calm decision-making started to shift. I could feel the concern in the eyes of my managers, though they hadn't said much yet. And then came the weekend trips that lasted longer than planned. Ethan and I would fly in on Fridays and return Monday mornings, bleary-eyed, adrenaline still pumping, our conversations consumed with the last night's bets, strategies, and dreams of the next big win. Vegas wasn't just a game anymore. It was a world that felt more alive than the streets of New York, more intoxicating than the trading floor. I was caught in a cycle I couldn't fully control. Work, gamble, lose, repeat. The thrill I chased was no longer a hobby. It was slowly taking over my life. By the time the next few months rolled around, Vegas wasn't a weekend escape anymore. It was an obsession. Ethan and I were chasing bigger and bigger highs. We no longer saw the city as a place to gamble casually. It had become a playground where stakes felt limitless. Every hand of poker, every roulette spin, every roll of the dice sent a rush through my veins that made Wall Street feel tame in comparison. I told myself I was in control, that I could handle both worlds, but deep down, I knew the thrill was starting to dominate my life. By the time the next few months rolled around, Vegas wasn't a weekend escape anymore. It was an obsession. Ethan and I were chasing bigger and bigger highs. We no longer saw the city as a place to gamble casually. It had become a playground where stakes felt limitless. Every hand of poker, every roulette spin, every roll of the dice sent a rush through my veins that made Wall Street feel tame in comparison. I told myself I was in control, that I could handle both worlds, but deep down, I knew the thrill was starting to dominate my life. I still made smart trades, still hit numbers that impressed the firm. But little cracks began to show. I would leave early to catch a flight to Vegas. My focus wavered. I started chasing trades with the same impulsive, all-or-nothing energy I used in casinos. My confidence began to border on recklessness. Ethan and I egged each other on, daring each other to take bigger risks, rationalizing that if we could handle Vegas, we could handle the market. But the consequences were inevitable. A few high-risk trades went south. Losses mounted, and though I covered some with wins later, the volatility of my behavior didn't go unnoticed. My bosses started asking questions. "Mace, you seem distracted lately," they said. "Are you managing your time properly?" I lied, smiled, reassured them, but inside I was uneasy. The thrill was starting to blur the lines between rational decisions and impulsive gambles. Meanwhile, Ethan and I continued to push each other in Vegas. We celebrated big wins with champagne and extravagant bets, but each loss left a mark that fueled the next adrenaline rush. I started missing nights on the trading floor, showing up tired, unfocused, hungover from the emotional roller coaster of the weekend. The market didn't forgive mistakes the way poker might, and I was learning that lesson the hard way. I felt trapped in a loop: work, gamble, win, lose, chase. The thrill became more important than reason, more important than security. I hated admitting it, but I was addicted. I could feel my reputation slipping, the respect I had built starting to crumble, yet I couldn't stop. Vegas had become a mirror to my life, a reflection of my compulsions, my desire for risk, and my inability to resist the pull of the game. And the worst part? I knew I was racing toward a breaking point, but the high was too strong to let go. It all came crashing down one week I'll never forget. I had made a trade, a massive, reckless bet, fueled more by the rush of risk than by logic. And it went south in a way I hadn't anticipated. Millions were lost in minutes. My heart sank, but worse was the feeling that this wasn't just about money. It was a reflection of how far I'd strayed from the disciplined player I used to be. My managers called me into a meeting, and the look in their eyes was worse than any reprimand. Disappointment. Not anger, not yelling, just quiet disbelief. Ethan tried to console me. "It's just a setback, Mace. We've bounced back from worse, right?" But this time, it felt different. I couldn't shrug it off with a poker face or a confident smile. I realized I had let the thrill of Vegas, the rush of risk, dictate my life, and now it had cost me everything I had worked for. I felt hollow, drained, and ashamed. My reputation on Wall Street, which I had built from nothing, was hanging by a thread. The breaking point wasn't just professional. My personal life had begun to unravel too. I had lost touch with friends who didn't understand the obsession, alienated family who worried, and even Ethan, though loyal, was starting to worry that we had gone too far. Nights in Vegas became more intense, less fun, more desperate. I chased losses the way some people chase a high, spiraling deeper into a cycle of winning just enough to feel invincible and losing just enough to crave more. After the final disaster, I made a choice. I quit. I left Wall Street, the firm, the lifestyle that had consumed me. I moved back to Los Angeles, back to the sun and familiar streets, but the shadow of what I had done followed me. I didn't stop gambling entirely. How could I? It had been part of me since I was a kid. But I learned to set boundaries, to see the difference between calculated risk and reckless obsession. Looking back, I understand now that the thrill had always been my weakness. Wall Street gave me the biggest game I had ever played, and I treated it like poker. I wanted the rush, the power, the control, and in the process, I nearly destroyed myself. The lessons were brutal, but they were real. Obsession can disguise itself as passion, and the high you chase can become a cage if you're not careful. Back in Los Angeles, I finally had space to breathe. Vegas and Wall Street were behind me, but the lessons stayed. I realized the thrill I'd chased all my life, from backyard poker to trading millions, wasn't inherently bad. But obsession can destroy everything you build. I learned to respect risk, to value patience, and to separate passion from compulsion. Ethan and I still keep in touch, though our Vegas adventures are memories now, cautionary tales we laugh about. I play poker occasionally, but differently, calculated, controlled, and without letting it consume me.